It's Tuesday, March 10th, and we have some major severe weather to talk about today. As you can see, a large marginal, slight, and enhanced running across the plains up through the Midwest. I really don't want to waste any time. We're going to dive right into this. This is mainly going to be pushing into the afternoon and evening hours. As you can see, portions of Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana are in that enhanced risk. And then we have Texas down there in the enhanced risk as well. Large slight risk running from the Mexico-Texas border all the way up through southern Michigan. And that marginal risk is running from the Texas-Mexico border all the way almost to Buffalo. Just to show you how many people are in the severe weather risk zone, there are almost 11 million people in the enhanced zone, 36 million people in the slight zone, and then 32 million in the marginal risk zone. And remember, that's a level 3 out of 5 severe weather threat. Let's first start off with our tornado risk. This is the northern risk. You can see it encompasses a lot of states here. Portions of Kansas, Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. Now, if you're in this green shaded area, that's a 2% tornado risk. What that means is from any point in this green shaded area, there's a 2% chance that a tornado touches down within 25 miles of that point. Now, as we get into the brown shaded region, that goes up to a 5% chance, and the yellow is a 10% chance. It's also important to note if you're in this hatched area, this is a SIG 1 threat. So if you're in this hatched area and you're in the green zone, it's still only a 2% chance that a tornado touches down within 25 miles of your area. But what this means, this hatched area, is it could be a strong tornado, meaning an EF2, potentially even plus. So of course, as we go up into the 5% risk and the 10% risk, this is really what we're watching here. Portions of central Illinois, even up close to Chicago, northwestern Indiana, and then you can see here portions of southeastern Iowa, and then right up there towards northeastern Missouri. I also am concerned about potentially long tracking tornadoes. Now, this is a little bit more of a conditional setup. If we do have some storms firing off along the warm front, we could potentially see a couple tornadoes try to traverse quite a distance, maybe even a couple states. Again, it's a conditional setup, but we have seen our dew points and our temperatures and our warm front actually move up to the north, actually trend north, which is making those long track tornadoes look more and more like a possibility. Again, we're still only looking at a 2, 5, and 10% risk for tornadoes out here, but they could be significant, and you're going to want to keep your alerts on all day, especially as we get into the afternoon hours. Getting down to our southern portion, you can see we have a 2 and a 5% risk for tornadoes and a pretty large SIG 1 as well, almost stretching from Texarkana. You can see out through the Dallas-Fort Worth region, through the Red River region, down towards Midland, Texas, and then the Texas-Mexico border as well. Now, this comes right up near Austin and then up towards Shreveport and Tyler as well. Shreveport, you are not in this 2% tornado risk. I would still stay weather aware though, because there's always a possibility you get some spin ups outside of these zones. I am going to break down this tornado threat a little bit more later on in the video. Let's quickly take a look at our wind threat. The most significant wind threat does look to be down in the southern portion. There's a 30% chance that within 25 miles of any point in this red zone, you could see damaging winds. Same thing goes for the 15 and the 5% risk here. Once again, though, we do have a SIG 1 risk. This means we could be talking about hurricane force 74 miles per hour or stronger. This includes portions of south central Oklahoma. You can see Paris, Texas, down through Fort Worth, again getting down there towards Austin, Texas, Del Rio, Midland, really a big portion of Texas here, much of central Texas. We have 2 large hatched hail areas, meaning we could see 2 to 3+ inch hail in some of these areas. Again, portions of northeastern Missouri, southeastern Iowa, central Illinois. This includes Chicago and then northwestern Indiana, maybe even portions of southwestern Michigan. You are in this 30% hail risk. We have a larger 15% hail risk out here, and then you can see that 5% hail risk is that brown shaded zone. We have another hatched area for hail here. Again, 2 to 3+ inch hail is possible down here. Same area, we have that wind threat and kind of tornado threat as well out there pushing towards Texarkana, the Red River Valley, south central Oklahoma, and then a big portion of central Texas down to the Texas-Mexican border. Right now, I want to focus on the timing for severe weather. Late morning, early afternoon, we get some thunderstorms firing off down here in Texas. I don't expect this to be the most severe yet. Probably strong thunderstorms, not too severe, not impossible to get a little bit of a severe threat mixed in here though. Still looking pretty good up in the northern and central section of that severe risk. Let's push forward a little bit in time. This is when things start to get dicey. 2, 3, 4 p.m. We start to get a little bit of a discrete look down here in Texas, some storms firing off in the Oklahoma Panhandle, and then we get some cells firing off here in Illinois. I'm concerned about these storms firing off in north central Illinois because they're going to have a lot of sky to themselves. Our warm front has been trending north. We could have some significant directional shear. I'm talking about easterly winds down at the surface and some strong westerlies a little bit higher up in the atmosphere. This is a concern for me. So Chicago, Metro Chicago, even if you're 30-40 minutes to the southwest of Chicago, this whole area here needs to be paying attention. And I know a lot of people think severe weather moves in late afternoon, early evening, and sometimes through the nighttime. We could have these storms firing off as early as 2 to 3 p.m. So let's pay attention to that. And again, if these storms do fire off, they're moving out east. They could go directly through the Chicago metro. Right now, it looks like the southern portion of the Chicago metro, but again, things can change. And then out through Indiana, this could be approaching South Bend, and this could be approaching southern Michigan as we push throughout the day. Will we actually have that energy? Will we see these storms ignite? And this would be right along that warm front. So this is a little bit concerning, but this is still a little bit of a question. The storms behind it, not as much, but again, this is definitely a real possibility. What's happening down here at around 4 p.m.? Again, we have some storms firing off down here to the south. Let's quickly move through here. We get into 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is the wind and hail threat we are watching right here. So this is later in the afternoon, earlier in the evening when this could start popping off. Again, we're going to get some storms earlier in the morning. This is late morning, early afternoon. I would have your alerts on. I'd be aware of what's going on. We could get some severe weather with this, but I'm really watching what happens here as we get into around 5 p.m. and these storms start to move up to the north. This right here could be our wind and hail threat, especially down here. So we're talking closer to 8, 9 p.m., give or take an hour or two. Let's go back up to the northern portion as we get into 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock. We're watching this potential 1 or 2 supercells move off to the east, mid to late afternoon. But as we get into the early evening and a lot of that instability begins to grow and that cooler, dry air from the north begins to settle in, we could see some serious forcing. We could see a lot of thunderstorms fire up. And this is when things could get messy, and we could see potentially multiple strong supercells capable of producing large hail, damaging winds, and maybe even a significant tornado or two. I wanted to get into a little bit more detail on this event, especially taking a look up here through portions of northeastern Missouri, eastern, southeastern Iowa, north central Illinois, and then out here towards northern Indiana, southwestern Michigan. I want to take a look at the trend that we saw with our temperatures today. Okay, so this is a model trend. Here's what we were looking at earlier in the day. As more updated model runs came out, watch this warm front shift further north. Okay, so we were here and now we're here. We were here, now we're here. Now, if we went back again earlier in the day, it wasn't looking like we were going to get these hotter temperatures and these dews mixing further north of this frontal boundary. It really looked like we may actually just see some elevated storms. If you don't have that warm air and those dew points pushing up to the north, what can happen is you just get that warm air from that shortwave trough moving over the front, moving over this colder air to the north, this cold, dry air to the north, and you get a lot of instability, but it's higher up in the atmosphere and you're not really getting these surface supercells. So this is when you can get large hail, but you typically aren't going to have as great a chance of seeing tornadoes. Throughout the day, we've seen, like I said, these temperatures move north, and we've also seen the same thing with our dew points. Here's where it was earlier in the day again, move forward in time, and those dew points are shifting off into the north. So that's concerning. What that means is we're going to have more mixing. We're going to have more warm air up here. There's going to be the potential for surface storms, not just elevated storms. I'm also watching something that concerns me, and that is taking a look at these winds. Look at these surface winds coming out of the east. So these are easterlies down at the surface. Now we know we have strong westerlies and strong southwesterlies with our 850 millibar shortwave trough and our 500 millibar jet stream, right? So our shortwave is going to come out of the southwest, southwesterly winds. Our 500 millibar winds are going to come out of the west. So that's your westerly wind. Now you got surface winds moving to the west. You've got upper level winds moving to the northeast, to the east. This is going to cause rotation. And if you look closely at where this is happening, this is right along our frontal boundary. Here's winds moving to the east. And then you can see here, and this is just surface winds as well. We have winds spinning near the surface. So here's winds moving to the east, and then you have these winds moving to the northwest here, and then you have southerly winds here. So we're actually getting rotation along this warm front at the surface. So we're not just looking at directional shear as we move up in the atmosphere, we're looking at directional shear down at the surface, lining up along that frontal boundary. And that's where if those storms fire off, they can kind of clip onto that warm front and they can ride it. That's how you can get these long track systems, these long track supercells. Taking a look at our 500 850 surface crossover. This is right at around 3 p.m. Let's move to 4 p.m. Again, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Here we go. We have about 30 knot winds from the south-southwest. We have those 5 knot winds from the east, and then we have 50 knot winds in the upper levels here. That's rotation right there. And then right under that, because you can see this is our winds at the surface, 850 millibar, 500 millibar, and then our surface base cape. And you're seeing pockets of surface cape here. Think of cape as your instability. That's what cape is, it's instability. I've seen soundings with surface cape pushing 42 to 4,400 joules per kilogram. You only need about 1,000 joules per kilogram for a supercell. So 4 times that, we have rotating winds. Our temperatures are trending up. Our dew points are trending up. This could be very severe. I do think it's still a little conditional. We could have models trend this warm air and dews down as we move throughout the day tomorrow, and then suddenly, again, we have elevated storms, but if these start firing off and if this trend continues and we have that warmer air, we have those higher dew points to the north, and we see shear like this, rotational, velocity, directional shear with height, and then that rotational shear at the surface, we could see some serious supercells firing off here. I even think they could upgrade the tornado risk. And this sounding is exactly what I'm concerned about. You can see the possible hazard type here is PDS Tor. This is in north central Illinois. This is just out to the west of Chicago. You can see our hodograph. We have some strong winds, and you can see that rotation in the hodograph. Take a look at what's happening on our SKU-T chart. We have that rotational and velocity shear, and look at this rotation down at the surface. Obviously a ton of CAPE. We're pushing 3,000 joules per kilogram of CAPE, 60 knot effective layer shear, 30 knot shear at the surface. Our helicity is just fine. We're almost pushing 300 helicity. Helicity is something that tries to point out how violent the rotation could be with these supercells, and pushing 300 is more than significant enough. 10.0 effective layer SIG-TOR param. Our SIG-TOR param is almost maxed out here. Notice also we're not having any issues with inhibition, meaning our storms don't look like they're going to have an issue firing off. Again, we've seen this trend with the temperatures and the dew points pushing north. If this pushes back down south, we could see some of this change, but this right here is what has me concerned about Illinois. This is where I took the sounding, by the way, just so you can see. But as we push forward in time, you can see what the SIG-TOR is doing on here. SIG-TOR is kind of cheating a little bit. I like to look at a lot of other things before I pull up the SIG-TOR. This isn't the best sounding, but look at the hodograph here again. There's a lot of rotation with these cells potentially. The bottom line is it doesn't matter where you are in any of these risk zones, stay alert because we could see some significant severe weather. I always say stay alert too if you're right on the boundaries of this severe weather. By the way, this lighter green is a general thunderstorm risk, meaning you could get some heavy downpours, but we would consider these strong thunderstorms not severe. But again, sometimes some of these severe storms hold a little bit more of their strength. They'll push farther out east, or we could have some cells spawning a little bit farther outside of these risk zones. So just make sure you're aware. Both of my kids are sick right now, and that's why I haven't been streaming. Something's going around. I've heard a lot of my friends and a lot of my coworkers are having the same issues with their kids. So got to take care of the little ones. As long as they're doing better, I will be hopping on live stream to cover some of this event, and I will be trying to put out another video to talk about the severe weather we could see on Wednesday. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. I try and at least upload a video every day or live stream every day to keep you guys up to date on the latest. If you want to look at any of these models or graphs or charts or maps that I look at in any of these videos or any of my live streams, you can join my Discord. It's 100% free. The link to my Discord is right down in the description below. You click it, you're in the Discord. There's almost 700 people in there now, all weather enthusiasts. That's where I tell you when I'm going live. We communicate in there. We talk about how severe could this weather be, what's going on with this winter storm, what's going on with this tropical system, what's going on with climatology, the ENSO cycle, MJO, whatever you want to know. Again, I really appreciate you watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video or in the live stream.